A few months ago, a video on X went viral. It was Erika Kirk, CEO of Turning Point USA, one of the most talked about figures on the internet, acting exactly how you would expect her to act. Except it wasn't her. It was Druski in prosthetic makeup, and Twitter's AI couldn't even tell the difference. 163 million views in around 3 days and over 400 million views across platforms. And that moment tells you everything you need to know about why people are absolutely obsessed with this man. In 2017, Druski started posting to no one. He was working at Red Lobster, he was living with his mom, he had no industry connections, and he had no plan. The characters that he was building, like the TSA agent on a power trip, they were funny, but not because they were jokes, it's because they were portraits of people you know, sometimes a mirror for who you can sometimes be. And that specifically is what made people stop scrolling, not because it was just funny, but because it was also familiar. And this is the first step on what I call the recognition arc, which is a framework that I use to reverse engineer creator success to see why they don't just get views, but they get obsession. And that first stage is called intrigue. Intrigue isn't about being interesting, it's about creating a pattern interrupt. A moment where someone stops mid-scroll and thinks, wait, what is this? And most creators never trigger it because they look like everything else on the timeline. Druski's content triggered it because it felt like it came from someone who was quietly observing the world and finally had something to say about it. But then would hit and everyone would be stuck inside on the internet with nothing to do. And so with nothing else to do, a lot of people were finding a lot of new creators, and Druski was one of those creators. People were tagging, people were commenting, people were sharing. The comment sections were never like, oh my God, this is a great joke, but they were always some kind of variation of like, oh my God, that's so accurate, or like, this is exactly how they are. And this is what I would call stage 2 of the recognition arc, which is identification. Identification is the moment when your audience stops watching you and starts seeing themselves. It's the moment where they're like, this person gets it. You either see people accurately or you don't. And Druski sees people accurately, and once it clicked, it went from being content to now being confirmation. By the time Drake put Druski in the Laugh Now Cry Later video, the culture had already made up its mind and had accepted Druski as one of their own. And at the time when Drake would validate something, obviously brands would follow. Things are a little bit different now. And soon Druski would have deals with Nike, Google, and Bud fucking Light. And then Druski did something that most creators never do, which is he built something that you could belong to. Coulda Been Records started as an Instagram live bit with Druski playing a ruthless label executive auditioning broke artists who had no business being there. And it was funny because it was specific. It showed the music industry's self-seriousness held up without commentary. And this would become appointment viewing. People would clear their schedules for it. Artists would show up not because they were getting paid, but just because they wanted to be a part of it. And that is stage 3, which is investment. Investment is when the audience has stake in what you're building. It's no longer passive, like they are active participants. And when the audience gives you time, attention, or identity, it becomes harder for them to leave, because leaving would feel like they're abandoning something that's partially theirs. Coulda Been Records gave people a world to live inside of, and worlds are a lot harder to leave than content. So in March of 2026, Druski would post a skit to X. Very kind of vague caption, right? It just said, how conservative women behave in America. No names. And within hours, people are posting side-by-side comparisons, and there was even one instance when a user asked Twitter's AI, Grok, to identify who the woman in the photo was, and Grok, like with no hesitation, said Erika Kirk. It garnered over 163 million views in 3 days and over 400,000 views across platforms. But that's not what's important. Druski didn't distribute the video. His fans were sharing it because it was genius, but conservative audiences were sharing it because they were outraged. The opposition became a part of the promotional engine without even realizing it. And this is the final stage, evangelism. Evangelism is when your audience becomes your distribution. They're not just watching anymore. They're not just identifying. They're not just investing, but they are actively recruiting. Every share is a cosign and every repost is a declaration. You cannot buy that. You cannot engineer that from the outside. So here's what we can actually do with this. The recognition arc has 4 stages: intrigue, identification, investment, and evangelism. And most creators that are stuck might feel stuck because they feel like they're not talented enough, but it could be that you are just stuck at one of the stages in the recognition arc. So here are some questions that you can ask yourself. One is, are you triggering intrigue? When someone lands on your page cold, no context, no cosign, do they stop? If the people aren't stopping, then the content isn't creating a pattern interrupt yet. And that is literally the only thing you have to solve for. It's just like stopping the pattern, stopping the scroll. Not branding, not strategy, just the scroll stop. The next question you can ask yourself is, have you earned identification? And you don't have to be a comedian to do this. What this means is that your content should be specific enough that if it gets shared with someone, they know exactly why they got sent that video. You don't send something that's interesting. You send something that names a feeling or an experience that's so specific that It does the work of the caption for you. For some creators, that's comedy. For others, it's a breakdown, it's a story. And after you check that box, you can ask, are you building something that people can belong to? Identification will get the follow, but investment requires more. It requires a world, a recurring format, like a language. It should be something that rewards people for staying. And for Druski, it was Coulda Been Records. And what will yours be, bestie? And lastly, are you giving people something to evangelize? Anyone can make you laugh, but not everyone can make you feel seen, you know? The content that gets spread at an evangelism level isn't just entertaining, but it's so precise that people feel like they have to put it in front of someone else. And sometimes that's other fans or potential fans, or in Druski's case with the Erika Kirk sketch, the opposition. Either way, you didn't distribute it. They did. And that's the recognition arc. That's how strangers become evangelists. So here's how I plan on applying this to obsessed branding. For intrigue, the way I'm doing this right now is through specificity. I'm not just saying like, here's how to grow your audience. I'm saying, here's the exact mechanic that turns strangers into evangelists for one of the most popular creators on the internet right now. The pattern interrupt isn't the topic, it's sort of how precise I can get with the angle, like with my point of view, how I'm looking at the topic. For identification, who I want to see themselves in my content is the people who have been making content for a long time, years even, and not figuring out what hasn't clicked yet. They're getting views, but no loyalty. And for investment, well, that's what this series is. The Obsession Blueprint isn't just a video, it's like a living framework that gets sharper with every breakdown that I do. Because I don't want you guys to just watch case studies, I want you to build a new way of reading audiences. One that you can use in your own brand, your own clients, or your own career. And for evangelism, well, that's on you. I'm Sky, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, cool.